Queridos amigos, sean todos bienvenidos a esta su casa, a este su hogar, a este su programa Latino Talk. Estamos acá este día, bueno, como todos los días especiales. Hay días diferentes, pero este día es especial porque vamos a hablar de algo que realmente me apasiona, de algo que es parte de mi vida y ha sido parte de mi vida por muchos años, y es el cuidado de la salud, cómo nosotros nos cuidamos. Y para hablarnos de eso tenemos una invitada especial también, una persona que ha estado en el campo de la nutrición, en el campo de las alternativas por varios años, aunque está jovencita, ha dedicado su vida, su tiempo, su esfuerzo para aprender y llevar este conocimiento a todos nosotros. Es una persona que, tiene estudios universitarios, pero sobre todo veo yo que la pasión que tiene por hacer esto, por llevar este mensaje a nuestra gente, y es por eso que está acá con nosotros. Maribel Garcia, bienvenida a este programa.
Es un placer estar aquí. Muchas gracias por la invitación, señor Carlos.
Es un placer tenerla por acá y que bueno, a pesar de que está jovencita, veo yo que su misión está bien definida. Me encanta eso porque la idea o la misión de nuestro programa es ayudar a las personas, darles información para que puedan tomar mejores decisiones. Claro. Y yo creo que en el campo de la salud, la comida y los alimentos son clave para todo eso.
Claro que sí.
Pero cuéntenos, ¿quién es Maribel García?
Claro que sí. Muchas gracias por tenerme aquí el día de hoy. Es un placer estar con ustedes. Maribel García, pues no siempre ha comido saludable, lo voy a decir desde el principio, porque a veces las personas piensan de que eso es fácil, de que ya es un estilo de vida que lo he tenido desde que era pequeña. Entonces me gusta siempre empezar con donde yo empecé, ¿verdad? Claro. Porque siempre hay una historia detrás de las áreas donde queremos ayudar. Casi siempre hay una historia que viene al lado de esa misión y de esa pasión. Y para mí fue porque yo he crecido en una familia mexicana y mis descendencias son mexicanas, aunque yo nací aquí en los Estados Unidos. Crecí con toda la comida típica mexicana, latina, y tal vez en los primeros años, ¿verdad? Incluso como adolescente todavía no experimentaba ningún tipo de consecuencia. Hasta que estaba en la universidad fue cuando ya empecé a sentir muchos cambios en mi salud y cuando empecé a ver como los resultados de la mala alimentación. En el tiempo que estuve en la universidad, recuerdo que llegaba a la universidad y iba determinada a ir a mis clases, y cuando llegaba me estacionaba y me quedaba dormida en el carro porque no tenía energía. Y en ese tiempo tenía una anemia muy avanzada, muy fuerte, porque no estaba alimentándome nada bien. Como una estudiante y estudiante típica, comía lo más chafa que hay, ¿verdad? Lo más económico.
Comida rápida.
Comida rápida, sí, lo más económico posible. Y eso estaba causando problemas, porque cuando nosotros estamos comiendo de esa manera, lo que causa es de que no estamos recibiendo las vitaminas y minerales que el cuerpo realmente necesita para tener un sistema inmunológico fuerte. Y es lo que estaba pasando conmigo, de que la anemia estaba muy fuerte, estaba ya experimentando los cambios de salud que no eran muy positivos. Claro. Y me estaba afectando incluso en mis grados en la universidad, porque no tenía la energía para estudiar.
Pero imagínense una persona tan joven ya teniendo esas dificultades, ¿no? Y no es que sea del todo extraño, pero la verdad es de que lo que estamos comiendo realmente no tiene el valor nutritivo que debería, ¿no? Y eso hace una gran diferencia. Sí. Entonces, ¿cómo empieza? Entonces, por necesidad empezó a cambiar y a investigar, ¿o cómo fue que llegó a la...?
Pues ahí fue el momento donde ya me empezaron a abrir los ojos, ¿verdad?, de que eso estaba mal. Una jovencita de 22 años en ese tiempo no debería de estarse sintiendo de esa manera y tomando un montón de café con un montón de azúcar para poder estar despierta, ¿verdad? No es normal para una joven de 22 años. Incluso subí de peso también. Entonces afectó bastante mi salud, no solamente la energía. Pero sabe que a veces toma tiempo el poder decidir hacer un cambio. No sé si tal vez a alguien se relaciona con eso, de que sabemos que tenemos que hacer un cambio, pero como que lo estamos evadiendo, y así me pasó a mí, de que no quería realmente...
Es que no es fácil, ¿cierto? No es fácil, porque fácil. Uno dice, bueno, hagan el cambio, miren, esto es lo mejor, pero... costumbres, los hábitos que se forman de toda una vida, a veces llegan a veces de nuestra familia, de nuestros amigos, del medio ambiente, que es el que realmente más influye. Estamos siendo bombardeados y como ustedes saben, a través de la televisión y de todos los medios sobre los alimentos y eso influye bastante en nuestros hábitos alimenticios, ¿no?
Claro.
Entonces es una lucha que tienen que nacer, pero ¿cómo lo encontró entonces
Sí.
cómo hizo la decisión para decir,
Claro.
Maribel, ¿sabes qué? Tienes que cambiar, mija, porque esto no va bien?
Sí, claro. Tomaron unos pocos años, de ahí tenía 22 años, ahora el tiempo que estaba hablando, pero después que me gradué de la universidad y tenía ya 25 años, fue de que los síntomas que tenía se empeoraron y ahí fue que decidí, tengo que hacer un cambio. Y los síntomas que empecé a experimentar fueron, por ejemplo, el estómago inflamado, tener el dolor tan fuerte en el estómago abdominal que me dejaba tirada en el piso, tener náusea todos los días, no querer hablar porque tenía siempre ese deseo de ese problema de náusea. Y también el estreñimiento, llegar hasta 9 días de estar estreñida, o sea,
Wow.
cambios bien drásticos en mi salud que empecé a mirar, que eso fue lo que me llevó a decir, yo necesito hacer un cambio, necesito respuestas, y las empecé a buscar en el ambiente médico. Desafortunadamente no creo que encontré las respuestas que estaba buscando, sino más bien las encontré después.
Pero qué interesante, ¿no? Entonces, muchas veces se lleva eso, ¿no? Estar en una situación difícil
Sí.
para buscar alternativas. Pero fíjense, qué maravilloso para nosotros que podemos aprender de las experiencias de otras personas para no tener que llegar a eso, porque la verdad es que las enfermedades siguen aumentando.
Sí.
Todas las enfermedades están en aumento. La Organización Mundial de la Salud, el Centro de Enfermedades Transmisibles en Atlanta, Georgia, aquí en Estados Unidos, reportan que todas las enfermedades están aumentando y a una velocidad increíble, a una velocidad que nunca se había visto. Y qué importante es que personas como usted, hayan tomado esa decisión de mejorar y no solo eso, de llevar este mensaje a nuestra gente que tanto se necesita para que no tengan que estar ahí,
Sí.
que no tengan que llegar a ese punto, porque acuérdense que una onza de prevención vale más que una libra de curación.
Claro.
Guárdense eso y bueno, corremos segmentos aquí, Maribel, y estamos siempre con el reloj y vamos a tener que irnos a un pequeño corte y regresamos
Claro.
con ustedes, queridos amigos, en esta su casa, en este su hogar, Latino Talk. So, once you decided to make changes in your lifestyle, in your eating habits,
Yes.
especially, so what happened? What did you do?
Yes. Well, after a year of a lot of health complications, at the end of that year, I decided that I didn't want to be on any medications that I was given, and also I wanted to find solutions, answers, but when it came to more holistic approaches to health. And so what I did is that I started eating more vegetables and more whole grains at the time. And then also I stopped eating dairy because I realized that dairy was very problematic for me. And so I made a lot of changes to my health, and I also started to exercise more and just really overall just taking care of my health a lot more and looking for those answers when it came from nature in the most natural form. And so after that is when years later, actually 7 years later, I discovered that I actually have an intolerance to gluten, to grains, and that's what was causing a lot of the inflammation, a lot of the stomach bloating, and the issues that I was having. And I've never felt the best that I have as 3 years ago when I decided to eat whole foods, yes.
So as a kid, you had that intolerance because it's not something, you could
Right.
develop it and throughout the years, but normally when you have intolerance, you have it from the very early age.
Right.
So did you have symptoms at that point? Or you
No,
just...
I did not have symptoms when I was younger until I was in my 20s. That's when I started to see symptoms. And you know, I have found that people that are allergic to grains, or have an intolerance, that they don't have to be diagnosed with celiac disease to have some of the similar symptoms like people that have celiac disease. And so even though I was tested for celiac, I wasn't found positive, but I have very similar symptoms. And so for me, it's very important to instead eat whole grains and coming from fruits and vegetables. And so I enjoy a lot more like yams and beets and those kinds of things, and really enjoy that. And I feel really my best.
So you make the adjustments, you make the changes, and little by little you realize that with the knowledge you acquire, you were ready to take on the world and send the message. So tell me what happened.
Yes. Well, because of all the amazing changes that I saw in my health, like having increased mental alertness and more energy and really feeling my best and seeing such good health at the time, I decided to launch my company, Captivated by Nature, which is a company.
That's a wonderful name.
Yes.
Very, very,
I
very
love
catchy.
it.
Very, very catchy. That's good. For a marketing standpoint.
Okay,
but it means something to you, right?
Of course.
Because that's what happened to you.
Exactly.
You're captivated by nature.
Yes.
What an awesome name. I like that.
Thank you. But because I grew up with eating such processed foods, the process with me was that I became captivated with eating whole foods, with this new eating lifestyle. And I really fell in love with eating vegetables and quality food and quality protein and good fats.
Avoiding the gluten?
Yes, avoiding the gluten and really replacing it with better quality foods. And I felt phenomenal. So for me, that was the process. I became captivated. I fell in love with eating this way because I felt so great. And so my tagline is actually the joy of clean eating, because I believe that when we are eating this way, when we're really giving our body what it needs, that there is this great joy that we experience because we feel so great. We feel our best. And also we start to see so many changes, right? And healthy eating should never feel that it's a chore. You know, that is what I tell my clients, that it should never feel that, oh, I have to eat this way because I have to lose weight or I have to get better in this area or this health problem. So eating well really it should be a joy, because otherwise we're not going to maintain those habits, right?
Yes, and that's, I've been in the industry for quite some time, and there's so many processed foods out there. The last clinical study I read on that, it's about 75% of everything we see on the market, it's highly processed. It's sad, but it's a fact. A lot of the foods that we have in the stores are highly processed, and we don't really have very many choices, so we need to be very careful. There's a lot of changes down the pipeline as far as the government controlling the way that the advertising is done with the foods, and the way that the manufacturers also have labels on the food. So there's a lot of changes that are taking place right now, but we're changing years and years. But since Crisco oil, the whole food industry changed. So more and more people are aware that there is a problem, and a major problem. So you have a captivated audience too, because most people had that level of conscience that foods are really could actually hurt us. Some of the stuff we see on the stores, if you actually look at the labels, they're not even foods. They're not even because they don't qualify as foods per se. So I admire what you're doing, because I know there's a lot more to Maribel than just making the changes. Captivated by Nature is taking you to a complete different level. Now you're in the driver's seat. Now you're telling people choices, giving people choices.
Absolutely.
And that's a key factor in our society, because Latinos, we have the highest index of diabetes, arthritis. We already caught up with the white community, and heart disease. We already caught up with the black community. So we're catching up, but in the bad stuff, I wish our earnings were as high and caught up with all the communities, but we're really getting sick, really sick. So we're going to talk about that in the next segment, and we'll be right back. This is your friend, Carlos Santana, and don't change channels, okay? Stay tuned. See you in a bit. are back. This is your home, Latino Talk. We are having an interview, wonderful interview, with a person that has a mission in life. And we're understanding now why it happened and how it happened and how it developed. But now we're going to get into something specific. So now you have all this information. Yes. Your decision has been made that you're going to go out there and help people.
Yes.
And if you were to tell me something that you will feel that it will make a difference in my eating habits, how would you start?
Yes, thank you very much. That's a great question. I think that's the question that a lot of the people that I work with have is, where do I start? Is how do I start eating healthy? Because most people that come to me, usually they've done a variety of diets and they're frustrated. And I've had people cry in front of me and say how frustrated they were because these diets do not work. So one of the first things that I tell people is that they have to learn to eat in balance. So eating balanced meals, making sure that all of their meals include these essential macronutrients. In Espanol, macronutrientes.
Okay.
Macronutrients are so important. And so what happens with diets is that we eliminate one of these groups, right? One of these important macronutrients. For example, we have diets that say no carb or low fat or no fat. And what happens is that it's really depleting the body of some of these essential nutrients that we actually need. So when I talk about macronutrients, I'm really talking about the three macronutrients that we have, which are the nutrients that we need in bigger quantities. And this includes protein, carbohydrates, and good fats.
Excellent. So to keep a balanced meal, you mean?
Yes.
So now you're starting with the macronutrients, but there's also micronutrients,
yes.
right? What can you tell us about that?
Sure. With micronutrients, I mean, we really will get the most when it comes to from our macronutrients that are good quality sources. So for example, making sure that we're eating organic sources of fruits and vegetables, and if we're eating quality protein and good fats, we will also be able to absorb some of these vitamins and minerals that we need.
And how would you define good protein, for instance?
Good protein, well, it's, for example, wild-caught fish,
okay.
Or organic beef, or also organic chicken. That's usually what I recommend for people to eat, or organic eggs as well. Why? Because now, and we will talk about this, I know, a little bit later,
okay.
about how the foods are nowadays so highly genetically modified. And so what happens is that if we're eating protein that is not good quality, then it's going to affect our health. So that's why I teach that it's very important to shop for quality protein and also fruits and vegetables, right? So that we can absorb the most nutrition out of it, and it's the best quality. So best for our health as well.
Wow, that's awesome. It presents a challenge for a lot of people, right? Do you have to be an expert to define what's good and bad? Because the way that labels are written nowadays, you pretty much have to have a chemistry background to understand them. But some of them, and I know some of them, have changed voluntarily, some of the manufacturers, but also the federal government is interfering now, because the FDA by itself, it doesn't seem like they're not doing it.
Right.
But so we have good protein, good carbs, but there's two types of carbs, right?
Yes.
So how do you decide which ones and what quantities to eat?
Yes, that's a great question. So yes, we have the non-starchy and the starchier carbohydrates. So the starchier carbohydrates would be like your potatoes, your yams, beets, right? So those would be more of the starchy carbohydrates. These are just a few examples. And then your non-starchy carbohydrates would be like your tomatoes, your cucumbers. And so we want to ensure that in our meals, we have both, a little bit of both. We don't need so much of the starchy carbohydrates because most of us are not exercising all day. We're not, engaging in like a lot of exercise. A lot of us have desk jobs nowadays.
Yes.
And so we're not moving so much, so we really don't need
it goes right to your belly, right?
Yes, it does. Actually, yes. If we're just eating a ton of carbohydrates, which is what happens in a lot of our Latino communities, coming from a Mexican family, I know we overconsume carbohydrates. We love our rice and beans and tortillas, and we love all that stuff. And it's so, our meals, if you notice, they're so high in carbohydrates. And this causes a problem, because then if we're filling up our plate with just a bunch of carbohydrates, and these starchy carbohydrates, they're so heavy, then we're not leaving room for the other macronutrients like our good fat and our protein. So we will just be filling up in these carbohydrates, which cause a spike in our blood sugar, which can also cause us to gain weight, which is why we have a very high rate of obesity in our Latino communities.
And diabetes.
Yes,
it's
heartbreaking.
Very, very high.
Yes.
And it has a social element on that, because it's cheaper to buy the carbohydrates than it is the proteins. So there's another element there. But you know, if we do it, if we balance it, like you said, if we keep the quantities, correct quantities in our plates, then we don't have to overexpend on the proteins, and of course the carbohydrates will be cheaper to purchase, but we need to balance it out.
Yes.
So we have fruits and veggies all the time.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the carbs also have another element, that they turn into sugar and fat really quick.
Right.
So that process is really bad, especially for the people that has some issues already. For instance, people that have been diagnosed as diabetic. Right. So if they go heavy on the carbs, their sugar levels will be going up and down pretty bad, and eventually your system is going to give up. Right. If you already have a problem producing or absorbing producing insulin, and if you have a challenge on that already, and you keep eating the carbs and raising up the sugar levels all the time, then you have a major issue, you have a major problem. Yes. And eating properly, it really makes sense.
Yes.
It's not just the looks, it's a good way to keep our bodies healthy.
Yes. And then can I share with you an example?
Sure, okay, go ahead.
Of a balanced meal. A balanced meal, for example, what I had for breakfast today is I usually make some eggs, and I cook them with a little bit of avocado oil, or I use macadamia nut oil. And so I'm getting my good quality fat, I'm getting my protein in my eggs, and then I eat some veggies, a little bit of fruit, about half a cup of fruit. And so I'm getting a variety of nutrients, right? The carbs, I'm getting protein and good fat. And so what that does actually, it prevents from that sugar spike. So fat actually helps us with that. So which is why eating in balance helps so much with that, especially people that are diabetic, like you were mentioning.
Fantastic. So we're going to go into a very short break, and we'll be right back. And this is your show, Latino Talk. Hey, we're back in Latino Talk. This is your friend Carlos Santana, and we're having an excellent conversation. We're learning about micronutrients and macronutrients and what else? Grains. Why don't we talk about grains? And
sure.
Let's learn something about them, because there's a lot of grains out there.
Yes, there are. Nowadays, we have a lot of different types of grains, right? When we talk about grains, we're talking about breads, rice, there's different types, right? And so then, or quinoa is becoming very popular as well. And so I think the main thing and concern that I have with grains is just each person's own tolerance for grains. And so what I teach people at Captivated by Nature, the people that I coach that go through my programs, is that we have to figure out how their body reacts to grains, because I cannot assume that everybody's body reacts the way that mine does, because every person is a very unique individual, right? And this is where we get in trouble, where we think one size fits all, and I believe that one size fits all does not exist.
And is there a test that you can go to lab and have your body tested for tolerance?
Yes, actually, there is a test that you can get with your doctor. and it's a blood work that they do. But even though, what I want to say though is that even though you may be tested negative for celiac disease or maybe your personal tolerance, like in my case, right, according to the tests that were done, I actually should be fine eating grains. But that's not always true. So I think the best way to figure that out is to really test it yourself also when it comes to food. So maybe removing it for some time, removing the grains for some time, seeing how your body feels, and then introduce it again to see how your body reacts to those grains. And so then you will be able to identify exactly how your body is reacting to those grains, despite what the test might be saying.
Right. And if you look at the test, normally the test that they run, even with sugar levels and fat levels in your bloodstream, they have limits, upper and lower limit. So low and high. And sometimes they're like right at the border, and your body's telling you something. It's not magic. It's telling you something. It's almost outside the rank. And that means that you have a problem. It doesn't mean that you're okay. It means that you are within the limits. It doesn't mean that you're 100% fine. It means that you're almost outside that range, and that should raise a flag. Say, okay, you have a problem. I have a problem, for instance, when they tell them, you are pre-diabetic. Okay, you're at 120 and you're pre-diabetic. Hello? Your body's telling you that you're already in a border, you're walking on one of those strings and you're on the hot wire. You're like this, and they're telling you, okay, well, so what do? Okay, eat properly, exercise, and that's about it. They don't tell you how to fortify your pancreas, your beta cells in your pancreas, and all of that is through food, through what we eat. So, very interesting. So grains and so you were talking about the value, the nutritional value of the grains.
Yes, I think you read my mind. That's what I wanted to get into next, actually, that in addition to testing for personal tolerance, I also think that the quality is very important. It has to be there when it comes to grains. They have to be organic. So what I tell the clients that I work with is, if you are going to have bread, if you realize that you're fine eating grains, then it has to be from a good source. They have to be organic, right? Because nowadays, like for example, with like white flours, it's refined, and so they're not the best for us. And so and also we know the exposure to genetically modified, to GMOs now. So we have to make sure that what we are consuming really is wholesome.
Tell our audience, because we throw names at them. GMOs. What's a GMO?
It's genetically modified organisms. So pretty much we have come up with ways, right, in our agriculture, ways to multiply these seeds, right, to multiply the seeds to get more food, right, to feed more people. That's the mentality behind it.
And it's an industry.
Yes, it is an industry.
You have to produce, basically.
Yes, but what happens is that the way that they make these, seeds and everything is not natural anymore.
Right.
And so then this is what we're consuming, and it's not the best for us.
Right, right, and it's not just to produce them, also to protect them, because they, even, I'm sorry, but even on the what's supposed to be organic. It only means that it has less pesticides. And the only bad part about that is that there's no method to verify them. So I've been in Mexico, and there's some places in Mexico that have very large plantations that are supposed to be organic. And they're certified by the US and the European, the ISO approval. And that gives you some sense of security that they're organic. But the main problem is that the people that resells the organic products, I don't think they're purely organic no matter what. It is very, very difficult. I have friends that I have tried, but it's our mission to try to do our best to get the best products available. So, but we need to have some legislation that will verify that they're actually organic when they go to the market. Because the people that really kind of temper into the system is the ones that resell it. I'll give you an example. I have a guy that is in the business. His partner got fined $60,000 because he was buying 10 tons of avocados, supposed to be organic, and he was selling 15 tons. So, somebody fingered him, somebody reported him, and that's the only way they found out that, 5 tons of what he was selling was not organic, under the organic label.
Right.
So that's really sad, and there's people that are always going to take advantage of that. So you need to be very careful too. So, but it means basically they're cleaner foods.
Yes, absolutely.
Cleaner foods. But we need to make the effort and try to get some legislation so they can verify it. So we have people, inspectors that go out and test all this stuff, because we look at it and sometimes they look different, sometimes they don't. And so we need to go to a very short break, see how time flies when you're having fun. And that's what I said. Well, we need to do a series of shows because we need to raise the level of consciousness. We need to make people aware of what's going on and alternatives that you can have. So we're going to go to a short break and we'll be right back. Carlos Santana saying hello from your show, Latino Talk, and we were having a conversation, a very important conversation, because it's our health, it's our life, and we can make a difference. We can make a difference. We have the knowledge, and we put the time and effort to do it, because it takes time.
Yes.
It takes a little bit of effort, but it pays off, because being sick is really, really bad for anybody who has lost their health for a very short period of time. Knows what the difference is. Yes. So it is very important. We we have to spend some time and be a little more selective on what we buy also.
Absolutely.
And so we were talking during the break. We were talking about labels.
Yes.
And you were telling me, and I just found out about it. I thought they had some legislation that had passed regarding GMOs, but you're telling me that it's still kind of up in the air.
Yes. According to recent articles that I've read, actually this law has not passed yet, where everything has to be labeled that there is GMO exposure. So at this very moment, we may be purchasing something that is exposed to GMOs and has GMOs, and we don't have to be informed, which is quite frightening to me, because I think that as consumers, we have the right to know and the right to choose where we're going to invest our money.
Okay, so that is if they have GMOs in the package.
Right.
But how about the food that we received, like cows, chickens, and porks that are fed with GMOs foods?
Yes, it's quite awful actually. There's a great documentary, Food Inc., that kind of explains how these animals are fed GMOs, are fed corn that is genetically modified, including fish. They're also brought to a pond, and they're also given this genetically modified corn, which is why I mentioned at the beginning that it's important that when we buy protein, for example, you're mentioning cows and chickens and fish, that the fish has to say wild caught. If it says wild caught, it means it hasn't been exposed to GMOs. And also the beef and chicken, I mean, it just has to be organic. And I know a lot of people think, oh, I can't afford it, it's too expensive, and do I really want to invest that money? Mm-hmm. And I will say, absolutely. This is quite an investment in their health for the future.
Yes, and the present, being sick is expensive too.
Yes.
I mean, you don't produce if you're sick, which is probably for a lot of us the worst part.
Yes.
You're not able to produce if you're not able to work because you're sick. There's zero income. Right. There's no earnings at all. So, but if we go to a hospital and just so happen that our insurance doesn't cover everything that we're charged for, we'll end up with a horrendous bill. Actually, on the GMO part, and let's close that part.
Yes.
But we just have to be very careful and get active, be proactive rather.
Yes.
We need to talk of our representatives. We need to tell them what we want. I mean, it's important. Not only just we'll try to eat properly, But if we need the protection, because there is a food industry,
Exactly.
and that means that they have the law of supply and demand that they have to go by. And there is a big demand, 7.2 billion people, and we all have to eat. At one point or another, we all have to eat, otherwise we'll die. So it is an industry, and the bottom line is the profits. So we need to keep that balance between these corporations making their profits and the products, the quality of the products they're selling. So what's your approach? Do you teach people how to buy? A friend of mine told me that you have gone to the store with him and train him how to purchase and how to identify products.
Yes, that is correct. So I actually do a consultation at the grocery store, and I will take my clients shopping and I teach them how to read their food labels and how to shop for these high quality proteins that I'm mentioning right now, and how to choose really the best quality foods and how to shop smart, really. And I think it's so important that we spend time doing that, because if we rely on eating out, we do not know what we're being served. I hardly eat out, and when I do, I only have a few places that I like to go to, just because I don't trust where I'm going, because you don't know what they're serving you. You don't know what's in that food. And if, as we were talking during the break, last year in November, actually, the FDA approved for genetically modified animals. And so we can be served salmon in a restaurant that is genetically modified, and it looks completely different from a typical salmon that was wild caught. And if you look at the size, there's actually photos. It's quite scary. The genetically modified salmon is huge versus the typical salmon that is wild caught is super small.
Even the chickens,
yes,
the ones that are really organic, they're kind of skinny.
Yeah,
they don't have a lot of fat, and that's an indicator, that you can go by. But okay, so is there a way to reduce costs when you go out and buy the good stuff?
Absolutely.
Tell me.
Yes.
That's what we want to hear.
Okay, absolutely. It is totally possible to eat great quality food on a budget. And I like to teach on this topic because I work with a lot of families as well and couples, and that's what they will say to me is, Maribel, okay, I want to eat better and I want to buy these high quality foods, but how do I do it with a family of 4 or 5? And so I think a great strategy that I teach is like teaching them about the Dirty Dozen. There's a list actually called the Dirty Dozen that the Environmental Working Group has come up with, EWG, and they have this guide that they release every year, and this guide tells you the 12 fruits and vegetables that are highly exposed to pesticides, that have a lot of residuals of pesticides. And they tell us these are the ones that we need to avoid. These are the ones that are dirty. And they have another list that is the Clean 15, for example. So these include like avocados, bananas, things like that, that we can buy non-organic. Yes.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to ask you. Okay, so those 15...
You can save some money there.
Those 15, it's okay to buy them regular food?
Yes.
Okay. And then the Dirty Dozen, that sounds pretty bad. And they probably are, too.
They are dirty, highly exposed to pesticides, yes.
Yeah, and I know it has a lot to do with the type of foods and also their shapes and their configuration, because some of them need a little more protection and they have to use a lot more pesticides to protect them.
Yes.
And that's the bad part, because some of them have been genetically modified to protect them from disease.
Yes.
So that's the other reason.
Correct.
It's not only production, they have to protect them, so they make them resistant to certain diseases. So that's really, it makes a big impact, because they still don't know how our bodies are going to react in a short term. So in a long term, but we know for sure that we are paying the price. So we're going to go into a short break, and we'll be right back with more information. This topic that is really, we need to make another show on this. So we'll be right back. So we were talking about alternatives, and Maribel was telling us that she's also a coach. And I was telling her that she's guiding people through a store. It's like you're taking a cruise, and you're having fun.
Right.
But you have a person that has the knowledge and ability to guide you through the whole process. Because I go to the stores, and if I start looking at every label in the stores, I'm not gonna buy anything. I'm going to just walk away and say, okay, I'm in the wrong place.
Right, be
I'm
frightened.
in the wrong place.
Yes.
So tell me what you do. You become like an instructor, a teacher, a guide?
Yes. Yes, well, I actually love that I'm a coach. I'm a wellness and nutrition coach, and so I help people really go to another level in their health that they cannot go on their own. Even very professional people that come to me, they have the knowledge, but sometimes they don't have the motivation. And what people need really is motivation, they need tools, and they need accountability too. Because they may have the desire, but if they don't have the accountability, they give up on themselves. Because life happens and people get really busy, especially if they're hardworking professionals. They're quite busy, they have a family to care for, and so what happens with a lot of these people that I work with is that, it's including moms, is that they put everyone else before them. Their careers, right, their children, their families, and their health is last, right? And so what I teach people is to set their health as a priority, and that shows in how we shop for our food, in our investment, right, of what kinds of foods we're purchasing. So I help people go to another level they cannot go on their own.
Fantastic. So accountability is probably a key word, because most people don't want to be accountable for what they eat. They, they respond at their jobs, and they have all kinds of responsibilities, and they don't want to be accountable. And that's part of the situation that I do as a trainer. And we develop organizations and throughout the world, basically. And one of the problems we find is that people are not accountable for what they do. We tell them that they're going to be, or they are independent, but since there's no accountability on what they do whatever they want, whenever they want, and they don't follow a plan.
Right.
So you must have some kind of a plan for these people that become your clients.
Absolutely.
And you give them a plan, and you help them implement the plan.
Yes.
Is that basically what you do?
Yes, absolutely.
And with an addition that you will walk with them and will teach them how to do it. And the purchasing part, but you mentioned something that I almost missed. You said that they will cook in bulk, because that's a saving, that's a big saving, because we do it.
Yes.
And we do it because of the time factor also.
That is correct.
Because if you cook in bulk and you freeze, then you just warming up stuff, and a couple, 2 or 3 days, you can go without cooking.
Yes.
So is that what you do? That's what you teach them also?
Yes, well, what I mean by teaching people tools is that I teach them a lot of strategies to save time, to save money, and really to improve their health. And so one of the strategies is cooking in bulk. And I personally do that myself, just because I wish I can cook every day, but I don't have the time.
That's right.
So cooking in bulk, what it means is that we're cooking 3 times a week. So I'm preparing food today, or cooking enough protein for the next 2.5 days, and I leave it in the fridge. And people do have the option of also freezing it if they desire to do that, especially if they have a big family. That's absolutely their choice. It's not what I do, but because it may lose some of the nutritional value. So we want to make sure that we're getting the most out of our food that we're consuming, right? And so cooking in bulk works really well. So while I have 2 types of protein cooking at the same time, some fish or some organic beef.
So you're saving time again.
Yes, saving time.
Awesome.
I'm prepping vegetables, I'm washing dishes. And so this strategy really has helped me stay healthy for many years, and also some of my clients.
We should make a little video if you're doing it's like you're playing several instruments at once, right?
Yes.
Cooking this, cooking that. Yeah, that's good. Very, very good, because you will save time, and that means you save money.
Yes.
So eating properly doesn't have to be that expensive. And I have to invite you guys to call her up, make an appointment. It will be no cost for 5 people?
Yes, for 5 people.
Okay, fantastic. And you might run into a situation when they're really outside Los Angeles County, because we have people from Riverside, Moreno Valley, and people from up north, I mean, it's about an hour drive. So you might run into a situation there, but we'll help you.
Skype?
For those, yeah,
No
the
problem.
Skype will help. We also, Yevo is going to give you 5 meals. To the 5 people that call, we'll send you 5 meals also. And you know, Yevo industry, it's a product that has their foods. They have no colorants, no preservatives, nothing, and it will help you. Actually, we're trying to have that balance. So we're not telling people that Yevo is the only food that you're going to have. But if you can kind of merge our conversation with what we do in Yevo, you'll have the best of both worlds. Actually, that's what we should do anyways. But we do it one step at a time. We realize that you're pressed for time, that you don't have the knowledge and ability to get all the right stuff. So we have foods that are clean, no preservatives, no colorants, no GMOs. And in addition to that, it has the 43 essential nutrients. And for some of us that are pressed for time, you can prepare a meal in 3 minutes or less. So you get the best of both worlds. We're preparing menus that combine food, like you're mentioning, Maribel, and with our products to complement it. But you know, you have those products for sure. They have the 43 essential nutrients. Some of the products that we buy, even though they're organic, they're not talking about the nutritional value. Hope you realize that. They're not talking about the nutritional value. They're talking about the fact that they don't have any bad stuff. You know, that they haven't been plagued with pesticides. But in our foods have not. So it's a perfect combination. And actually, we're looking for people that are food advocates, so we can kind of do a couple of presentations. We're preparing like small meals that have the good stuff with the Yevo stuff. So that's something in the future that we're going to show you what we are doing. So, but for our audience, if you're interested in learning how to prepare your own meals, learning how to eat properly, and you need the help of a coach, and believe me, it's so much fun, it's so much easier if you have someone guiding you through the process. That's the whole idea, right?
Right.
Make it easier for the people.
Yes.
So thank you very much for being here. I know it's not going to be the last time, and we already talked about doing a show in Spanish.
Sure.
So Maribel Garcia, thank you for being with us. I appreciate
Absolutely.
your time,
Thank
your
you for
knowledge,
inviting
and that spirit that it seems like it shows that you really want to help people. So, gracias por estar con nosotros. Hasta la próxima. Su amigo y servidor Carlos Santana se despide de ustedes.